It's been live streamed.
Microphone.
Everyone's mic on? Sorry.
Okay, everyone, we're about to start in 1 second.
Yeah, no, I gotta.
All right, good morning, Ms. Matias. We are live, we are recording, we are streaming. You may proceed with the public review session.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals Review Session for October 21st, 2024. Please be reminded, there's no public testimony during the review session. To note for the record, Commissioner Otley Brown and Commissioner Shetta are both participating remotely. Adjournments, items up for adjournments. Item number 1, 2023-38A, 2021-2023 Amsterdam Avenue, Manhattan. Item number 2, 2022-96BZ and 2016-4249BZ,
Yeah, go ahead.
2420 Amsterdam Avenue.
Okay, I want to say something. The application pursuant to, this is an application that is pursuant to Special Permit 73-19 and an amendment to a previously approved variance that was filed on December 30th, 2022 for a school to be located in a C8 district. It was for a school called the Square High School, which was for 9th to 12th grade students. And the proposal was to convert a 45,570 square foot of approved office space for school use located on floors 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8. The first hearing on that particular part of the application was held on March 13th, 2023, and DOT issued a comment letter asking for physical improvements and signage wayfindings, among others. The applicant requested an adjournment for the second hearing that was scheduled for April 24th, 2023, followed by another adjournment request for June 5th, 2023 hearing. The adjournments were because the school in Square did not want to proceed. So the applicant then made another submission on November 24, 2023 for a different school called American Dream Charter School 2 for the use of floors 2, 4, 5, 6 for its elementary school that is K through 5th grade, converting 36,966 square foot of office space for the school. At the second hearing that was held on December 12th, 2023, Board expressed concern about the school safety, and subsequently DOT in its 4/3/2024 letter raised several concerns, including potential conflict with existing dedicated bus lanes with pickup and drop-offs, and recommended that the school consider other site. We also received a letter of opposition from MTA regarding this elementary school. Since then, the applicant has requested 2 adjournments for February 2024, and July 29, 2024. So thus far, under the same BZ number, the board has reviewed 2 new cases. Each of these school applications should have been treated as separate applications and not as a continuation of the initial application, since the findings vary from school to school and the outcomes are very different, even though it is the same site. I had made that initial call to let it continue under the same BZ, but I made that mistake and I am going to revert it. Board and staff have been very generous with their time in processing this application. However, it is not fair to the supporting agencies and to the applicant pool who have to hold a spot for such a long period of time. By now, applicant knows all the concerns raised by DOT, school safety, MTA, and BSA. And yet, after 2 years and a half, the owner has failed to find a school as a tenant and adequately respond to the comments. So as the application stands, the application is not able to meet the findings of the special permit, with strong opposition from DOT, MTA, and school safety. And as also a lot of, we all unanimously, I think the board members expressed concern about the elementary school. So I don't want this to, even though the applicant requested an amendment, I think it's a futile attempt. And if this is to look for another school site, it should be a new application. So I'm going to make a motion to close this application, and please send a dismissal letter to the applicant. Why can't? Deny it. We can't make a motion to close now? Okay, call it for public hearing.
Call this for
and-
public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they don't have notice for public.
Oh, they don't have public hearing. So what do we do?
You could do it,
Some dismissal warning.
yeah, you could do it,
Prosecute.
Okay,
you could do it administratively, say, well, grant this adjournment and then the council
And
to.
then put it on the
Okay.
agenda.
all right, we're going to adjourn it, but the dismissal letter is going to be sent out. And that I really do not see a path forward with this application, and any new school that is going to be considered. Even if it's the same school with a different high school, with a different school grades or whatever it is going to be a new application. So I'm just going to put that on notice, and the applicant has to proceed accordingly if they wish to.
Withdraw this application too?
I will strongly suggest they withdraw this application unless they want us to deny the application.
And the reason for adjourning it, for withdrawing it is that they won't receive prejudice and can come back to a different application.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want me to call the continued hearing case that we're administratively adjourning? Or wait till?
Wait, because.
Okay.
Yeah.
Postponements. Item number 3, 2024-09 BZ, 401 Park Avenue, Brooklyn. Withdrawals, 2021-84A, 6301 Amboy Road, Staten Island.
The applicant is requesting a withdrawal, so motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yu.
Aye.
Application has been withdrawn. Decision items. Excuse me. Item number 5, 36203 BZ, Volume 4, 428 West 45th Street, Manhattan.
Okay, we didn't require any submissions, so I make a motion to approve this extension for a term of 10 years from the date of the grant.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Item number 6, 2023-40A, 99-111 Sutton Street, Brooklyn.
Okay. Just going through my notes. Just bear with me. So no submission was required, do you know?
No.
So I think our record is pretty clear. We have all the board members have made their statement. I just want to say that in its statement, DOB explained each of the 3 authorities that are governing in their ability to make a decision, and went through a very detailed exercise of how it meant to be applied and when applied, specifically when it's applied to the site, the outcome. The conclusion is uniformly a seller, and DOB correctly applied the definition of BSA I'm sorry, applied the definition of base plane per zoning resolution, and arrived at a conclusion that applying zoning resolution requirement, the story would be more than half below the base plane, and thus would be defined as a cellar. So based on the evidence provided, the 10 dwelling units in the lowest floors are unlawful per definition of zoning resolution and is contrary to loft law. So with that, I would like to make a motion to permit DOB to modify the 1210 certificate of occupancy. That is certificate number 320285188F with regards to the 10 basement units at the subject site that are not lawfully pursuant to the applicant regulations.
Before that
And I
motion,
would, like, if commissioners want to say anything when you're casting your vote, please do so. Yeah, go ahead.
before that motion is made, I just want to add that this decision is going to be based solely on the filed submissions before the board and the laws and statutes that relate to them. And no weight has been given to anything unrelated to the very property and the laws related to it. This includes any party's history or character or question with regard to either.
You make
Yeah, make a motion.
a motion to approve?
No.
Chair Shanda? Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
This is a DOT DOB
DOB
application. Yes,
application.
yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm sorry, there was.
Yeah, it's a DOB application. No, it is a DOB. I forgot. DOB application.
Well,
So
yeah.
It is. Yes.
it's a DOB application.
Chair Shanda?
Yes, yes.
So just to clarify, the motion is to approve, right?
Yeah, this is a DOB application.
Vice Chair Shabeta?
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta?
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon? Aye. Application has been granted for DOB. Item number 7, 2023-41A through 2023-46A, 71, 73, 75, 77, 77, 79, 91 Longstreet Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay, BSA staff received DOT comments after the board had voted to close on it on September 9th. So in its letter, DOT recommended applicant to submit title status of Longstreet Avenue from Bronx Topo Bureau office, and also documents showing the private ownership for a portion of Longstreet. DOT also provided additional comments based on information provided by applicant on October 10th, asking for clarification regarding street status. So applicant made its submission on 10/15 to respond to DOT's comment. An owner's policy of title insurance was provided, a plot diagram for the 6 lots that were filed at Bronx Topo Bureau were also provided. I would say, though, the plot diagram map, it's not clear what portion of the plot is located within the mapped street of Longstreet. So that wasn't clear. Probably that's not required, but it would have been helpful to have that. We also received a street status letters from the Bronx Borough President's Topography Office, which is dated July 18, 2022. Go ahead.
No, just looking for Chase for something.
Okay. And in that letter, it states it specifically focuses on the intersection of Hatting Place and Longstreet. And it states that Hatting Place from Chaffee Avenue to the intersection of Longstreet is mapped to a width of 60 feet, and Longstreet Avenue at its intersection with Hatting Place is mapped to a width of 80 feet. And then it says the title of Hatting Place, as described above, was vested with the City of New York on May 15, 1953, and the title of Longstreet Avenue, as described above, was vested with the City of New York on April 9, 1954. No title to Hatting Place was ever vested with the City of New York between the intersection with Longstreet and the westerly high water line of the Hammond Creek. Now, so it is clear that the intersection of Hatting Place and Longstreet, 60-foot by 80-foot area, is still under city ownership. But it did not provide clarity regarding the title of ownership of the Longstreet along Lot 154. So the title status of Longstreet is complicated with multiple jurisdictions. So definitely a better clarification is needed. Applicant states that city has title vested in Hatting and Longstreet only for the portion of the same between Lot 54 and Lot 57, and referred to the deed and has provided the title insurance policy for both lots. Now, the documents provided thus far do not provide a clear metes and bounds of the portion of the lot that was vested by the city. And DOT, all of this is to say, like, it would be very, very helpful to provide that clear outline. And I think that would also help DOT in clearly understanding what portion of Longstreet is still under city ownership and what is privately owned. DOT is requiring a builder's pavement plan and to show prolongation of Hadding Place on the site plan. Another comment DOT made was that the location of the curb cut for lot 57 must be at least 50 feet away from this intersection of Hadding and Long Street. I think this would definitely affect any development on lot 57 and also will affect the site plan. DOT also recommended that builder's pavement plan must comply with design parameters for sidewalk slope, especially ADA requirement. Roadway slopes, sidewalk width information has been required by DOT for review. In addition, DOT also may require applicant to build the portion of Long Street at the intersection of Hadding Place. So all of this may affect the site plan. Now, applicant has revised the site plan showing the slope condition of Hadding Place. And based on DOT's comments, as I said, I think it's likely that site plan may be affected. And since the site is in a flood zone, site slope condition, coordination with DEP and DOT would be critical. So I do want, I want to allow DOT to review the documents that has been submitted. And I'm going to suggest we do a second call on this on Tuesday, or defer it or reopen it if needed.
Move on.
Yes.
Item number 8, 2017-262 BZ, 18 Stanwick Street, Brooklyn.
One of our longest standing application. We are still waiting for a secret sign off. We do have a hazmat that is closed and e-designation will be placed. We also have an architectural sign off. There is an archaeological approval with condition, and noise is also closed. The only outstanding issue at this point is air quality, and I know the applicant has been going back and forth between DEP. I strongly would recommend that the applicant, in the interest of everybody's time, to address DEP's comments so that we can bring this to a closure. Thank you.
Item number 9, 2017-269 BZ, 65 Grasmere Avenue, Staten Island.
Okay, no submission was required, though applicant did provide a revised site plan, providing a little bit clarity with regards to some of the dimensions. So did everybody have a chance to look through it? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion with following conditions for legalization of this enlargement. All repair work shall be contained within the subject building. 22 on-site accessory parking area will be provided, and these spaces would be used for vehicles awaiting repair and customer parking. No parking of any vehicles, customers, employees, or vehicle awaiting repair shall be permitted on the sidewalk. No repair operations shall be conducted on the streets and sidewalks. There shall be no more than 2 spray booths on the site. The spray booth shall be operated pursuant to DEP certification and all applicable requirements. Submit a builder's pavement plan for the removal of the existing curb cut on Sheridan Avenue and reconstruct it to the required curb height per DOT standard. All landscaping shall be done and maintained as per the approved plan sheet A02600 dated 5/11/2017. And that includes that the depth of the street of planting bed along the Staten Line and Railroad. Hours of operation shall be limited to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday 8 a.m. to noon, and Sunday it will be closed. The site shall be free of graffiti and debris. Graffiti shall be removed promptly. All signage shall be non-illuminated signage and will be pursuant to the underlying zoning, pursuant to the drawings that's been submitted, I'm sorry. Vehicular entrance shall be from Grasmere Avenue and shall exit on Sheridan Avenue. And upon certificate of occupancy, I think they need to, they need to update the certificate of occupancy, and it must be updated within 24 months. Okay, those are my recommendations. Is everybody okay with it? Do you want to add anything? Okay,
You want to call the vote?
yeah, please call the vote.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Item number 10, 2022-95 BZ, 1249 Sutter Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay. So we received a submission on October 10th, and based on the recent submission, we need to reopen it as the property owner or the operator has not provided some of the improvements per approved plan, specifically the trash enclosure. If you look at the photos that we have received, there are two trash enclosure. One is a trash enclosure by the automotive repair, which is fenced with the opaque opaque slats. And there is another trash enclosure which is not built to the plan along the convenience store facing Euclid Avenue. So, I don't think we can quite, knowing what we have approved and what has been built, it cannot happen. So it's one got to get fixed. And I really am requesting that the applicant work with their property owner and tell them what they can or cannot do, because this is just delaying their ability to get the necessary approval and unnecessary cost that the property owner is bearing to pay its consultants and applicants. So motion to reopen.
Sorry. Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Reopened, okay. Item number 11, 2023-63 BZ, 4152 Ocean Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay, we received revised plans. In that the applicant has removed the laundry room and the bathroom from the cellar to meet the flood regulations, since it is not permitted below design flood elevation. However, I did not see any laundry room that is shown on the upper floors, which is very unusual. So either it's an error or I do not know. So I want to make a motion to approve with the following conditions. Removal of exterior walls and or joists in excess of those indicated on the BSA approved plans shall void the special permit. BSA is not waiving any applicable flood regulations. DOB shall review and confirm compliance. And cellars shall not be used for any habitable purposes, including uses such as laundry room, bathrooms, since such uses are not permitted below design flood elevation. And the space shall be used only for storage purposes. With that motion to approve, if
Chair-
everybody's satisfied with that. Okay.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Applications are granted. Item number 12, 2023-68 BZ, 8-10 Grand Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay. Oh. Just give me a second. So we finally have a sign off, secret sign off, and there is going to be an E-designation placed for hazmat. And applicant has submitted a revised plan with all the notes. So if everybody's satisfied, I want to make a motion to approve with the following conditions. Though the noise analysis was below the threshold, applicant is proposing to install a double glazed window. So the condition will be that windows and door system shall have an OITC rating of 22. Unit 2-13, which is on the second floor, will not be used for living purposes. It will be used only as an accessory office for residential, for the resident super. And stair A on 4th and 7th floor will still need to be accessed in the event of fire. So applicant shall provide a heavy door seal the window openings and not the door openings. The unit shall not have access, the units shall not have access to the residential purposes until a TCO has been obtained. These are the units that is being proposed to be converted from office to residential. So those units shall not be used for residential purposes until a TCO has been obtained. Unless they're already being illegally being used, then that's a different story. But they should obtain a TCO as quickly as possible. Okay, motion to grant.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Item number 13, 2024-28 BZ, 267 Amherst Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, we received all of the information that we needed. And we also have received a site plan with the note added that the elevations are per NAVD 88. So was everybody okay with it? Okay, so I then make a motion to approve with the following conditions: that removal of exterior walls or joists in excess of those indicated on the BSA approved plans shall void the special permit, and BSA is not waiving any applicable flood regulations. DOB shall review and confirm compliance, and cellar shall not be used for any habitation, and the space shall be used only for storage.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Special order calendar continued hearing items. 6213 BZ, Volume 3, 2703 East Tremont Avenue, the Bronx.
So this is being administratively adjourned.
Item
And
number, I'm sorry.
I think it's our understanding the applicant is proposing to apply under the new eating and drinking establishment special permit of 73311.
Item number 15, 1608 BZ, Volume 2, 651, 671 Fountain Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay. So applicant in its latest submission is proposing a reduction in total number of parking spaces from 125 buses plus 20 employee to parking spaces to a 48 space for trucks and 31 parking spaces for employee, which would be all passenger vehicles. Applicant is making the argument that the parking space would allow for truck storage that is needed in the area. And per statement of fact, it is an amendment to permit commercial storage of motor vehicles with maintenance and repair via hand tools only, use group Roman numeral 9C, parking requirement category D2. The former use group was 16C, which was for vehicle storage. What the applicant fails to state in all the documents, except in the plan where it is only diagrammatically shown, is that these 48 spaces are all for tractor trailers only. At the last hearing, despite board specifically stating that tractor trailers shall not be considered, the applicant is proposing a parking space for only 48 tractor trailers plus its employees. Applicant is proposing with regard, and as you know, the board had a lot of concerns with regards to the neighborhood character and its impact on the neighborhood. So the applicant is proposing an 8-foot high opaque Trex horizontal fence on all 3 block frontages facing the residential use. It is a change from a 6-foot height that was initially proposed in the earlier iteration of a masonry wall. Because the applicant state it is cost effective in terms of installation and maintenance of the fence than a masonry wall. In addition, applicant is proposing a 4-foot high concrete filled bollard within the site in front of the fence that would be located in front of, in the middle of each of these 48 parking spaces for the tractor trailer. And the reason is there's one, these concrete filled bollards in front of a tractor trailer is to prevent any damage to the fence from the vehicles proposed to be parked here. And a 6-foot-high chain link fence is proposed along Fountain Avenue. The application as submitted is premature and lacks information, considering that from prior boards to current board, the concern has been centered around neighborhood character, and thus far what has been provided is inadequate to meet finding C and finding E. The submission is also incomplete and has not responded to comments that were made at the last hearing. Light poles are not indicated on the plans. I see the poles on the street. Need to show on the plan the proposed location of the light plans. Provide the dimensions of the signs and indicate on the plan the locations of the signs. The plan shall show everything clearly. This is consistent with board's practice, and there should be no room for any confusion and shall be easy for BSA, community, and DOB to monitor, should the board consider granting this application. Regarding the hours of operation, prior board conditions were as follows. For vehicles parked at the site, it would be Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7:15 p.m., Saturday to Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the hours of operation for repair shop was Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. The proposed hours of operations are Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. for both parking and repair. So it is not the same as previously approved, and the applicant I do not see any reason why the board should change the hours of operation for the proposed use. And if the applicant is proposing to seek an amendment, that has absolutely not been clearly stated in anywhere in the documents and needs to go through the justification. The applicant also needs to provide a very, 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 very detailed operational plan. Name of the operator, how many employees, who will be responsible for monitoring and maintaining the site, who will be making the site improvements, what kind of repair work will be done on a tractor trailer where only hand tools will be used. I've yet to find a tractor trailer that will be only using hand tools on a shed that is of that magnitude. And I would say that any repair of any sort on this side, given its proximity to residential, cannot be done in a shed that is not noise attenuated. It must be noise attenuated. Applicant should provide a tech memo. This was asked at the last hearing, and it has to be provided.
Be paid.
Hmm?
Also, they have to pay a fee.
Of course,
Yeah.
they have to pay a fee. That goes without saying. Tech memo should be provided, and prior vehicular type that was analyzed was bus, and this is 18-wheelers that we are talking about. So we need a very thorough tech memo explaining how it, screens out of all the prior findings. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I have no further comment.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I think I raised concerns at the last hearing about the possibility of there being 18-wheeler trucks at this site, and now my worst fears are confirmed, because that introduces not just noise at these hours, which go through the weekend, which is really upsetting to me, but also diesel emissions, which are problematic. There have been numerous articles written about the effects of diesel emissions on surrounding neighborhoods, on asthma rates, and all sorts of illnesses for the people who reside around them, particularly around highways, but also I'm sure around parking lots. And so this proposal actually troubles me a lot. And it troubles me that this suggestion would be to put 18-wheeler truck parking and truck maneuvering so close to residences. So at this point, I'm not on board with this project.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. Long story short, I would say me too, but I want to say that we don't want to put 48 18-wheelers trucks in this neighborhoods. And I do believe that even like the best case scenario is that's not gonna be repaired, just gonna be like storage. You don't wanna make this site as a hotel for 48 18-wheeler trucks going in and out every day, or even every 2 days or so. It's gonna be a nightmare for the neighborhood. So I'm not I'm not swallowing this project for right now. Thank you.
Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been stated. It's obviously a concern for the neighborhood, and we've talked about this in past hearings. I also think that the proposal to change to a Trex fence, which is a synthetic plastic material made to look like wood, is not sufficient for something with such a great length of frontage. We have hundreds of feet of frontage. And I think we still need, no matter what is on the site, if it's any sort of storage for any kind of automobile usage, it has to be masonry. I think that's the only thing we should accept. It has enough mass to attenuate sound and to reliably stand up across 500-foot frontage along, I forget the street, Euclid. Also, the building, I wanted some clarification on if the proposed renovation is a tear down and rebuild, or because there's a mention of replacing the building. So I think we need a little bit more clarity on the plan for the building. And I won't reiterate anything that you already said, Chair. That's all I have. Thank you.
You know, you're absolutely right. I think for any vehicles to be stored there, masonry is the best alternative. And what is concerning is the applicant in one way, it's saying, oh, the Trex is very durable, but at the same time is proposing bollards in front of it so that an 18-wheeler will not harm it. So how is it so durable?
Now, obviously,
It absolutely fails
yeah.
its own argument. And all of this is being done because the cost of improving this site is being passed on to the tenant. And the tenant is only going to do what minimally it needs. Now that, to me, it's very unfortunate. It goes to show the property owner has no vested interest in this community and doing something for the community while also getting a reasonable return on its site. And if the property owner was so wanting to take care of this community by removing the vehicles from the street to keep these 18-wheelers off the street, then well, go ahead, do so, but also provide a very, I mean, I don't think I'm there yet. I'm not going to say I'm there with the 18-wheelers at all, but regardless of whatever vehicles you're going to put in there, abutting a neighborhood that has become a solidly residential around it, you have to make it a strong masonry wall building, which is durable, which will withstand any kind of damage, and it is going to be a good noise attenuator against any of the vehicles that are going to be parked there. So, and that cost has to be borne by the property owner. I understand why this Trex is being proposed, because it's going to be done by the occupant tenant. And these are not boding well right from the get-go. We have had a lot of problem with this site.
Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, I don't want to look like we're trading the trucks sizes and numbers with the masonry fence. The Trex fence system was described in the submission as durable. Yes, it is, but durability doesn't mean that it can withstand abnormal loads, like an impact from 18-wheelers. Based on my experience, and I did design, not just to get some guidelines for bowlers and grab them and put them on a drawing. I did look at designing bowlers based on moving trucks with a specific gross vehicle weights and with a specific speed. And I do believe that the proposed the proposed bollard, if you look at the size of the truck, and even if the truck is moving at 5 miles per hour, it's not a single bollard is not going to withstand a hit. And at this time, neither the Trex fence nor the bollard itself would be able to take the hit from that truck. But the idea about the masonry fence is that its appearance, it's very like neighborhood friendly. It looks like the buildings around, and more than that, it's heavy, it's more stable. It can probably withstand more hits from probably lighter trucks. But the proposal right now is like, let's save on the fence, let's put some like overloading that number of trucks, that size of, it's not gonna work that way. And I'm really surprised that the applicant this applicant, probably during the past 2 years, I have noticed that they are very responsive. They listen to us and they respond to us. On this submission, I don't think they did.
Yeah.
And they need to consider that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
New cases, item number 16, 45046 BZ, 41 East 62nd Street, Manhattan.
Okay, we received proof of initial filing and hearing notice. Community Board has approved this application. This is an application for an extension of term of a previously approved variance for a mixed-use commercial and community facility use located at the subject site that is zoned for residential use, and it is set to expire on November 1st, 2024. So I really did not have any comments or questions on this. The application, the applicant is not proposing any changes. The site is currently vacant and the applicant has been very upfront. And it is offered for sale, and the sale listing does disclose the limitations of the use permitted on the site. I really don't have any comments. I'm satisfied with this application. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. Also satisfied with this application.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown?
I have no questions. I'm fine with this application.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you, Chair. I'm satisfied with the application, but I didn't see the term requested specified in the statement of facts. Maybe I missed it. But if it's not there, please add it. Other than that, I'm satisfied with the application, like I said.
I think it's for 10 years. Yeah,
I
okay.
did look at it probably 2 times, but I couldn't see
Maybe
it.
the applicant can clarify it at the hearing. Yeah, I think that is the most that can be granted because this is a 1946 variance. So I think it's a 10-year term. That's my understanding. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Sorry, Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I don't have any issues with the application, but I did have one comment that the 1994 variance limits this to a single office use. And I didn't see that on the CO or in any of the advertising. So just want confirmation that the applicant understands that as they market this building, that it's clear that it's only a single office use that's permitted in this variance
Yeah,
application.
Good point. Yes, thank you. The applicant, I'm sure, is listening in, can comment on this. Thank you.
Item number 17, 16-93 BZ, Volume 3, 110 Christopher Street, Manhattan.
Okay, so we received proof of initial filing and hearing notice. Community Board has voted to approve this for continued use of an office use as use group Roman numeral 7 and recommends, but this is a weird part, it recommends denial of change in use to more impactful use of use group 6 retail or service, and also recommends that access to the air shaft be made inaccessible for commercial units in the cellar, and doors between the commercial space and the rest of the basement be locked. So it was a little confusing, so I would like the applicant to clarify what was the concern and why these recommendations.
The applicant did respond to some of the complaints of the community board in a separate filing where he shows that he's paid to have certain repairs made to the building that were mentioned in the community board.
Okay.
I can,
Oh, okay,
send
I
you that
didn't see
document.
that. Okay, I did not see that.
But with regard to the use group, I think he does speak about that a little bit in his statement of facts.
That he does, yeah. Yeah. Has made repair. Thank you. So the applicant, this is an application for a 10-year extension of term pursuant to 11-411 of a previously approved variance, which permitted retail use, former use group 6, in the cellar of an existing 5-story and a multiple dwelling building. It expired on February 23, 2024, and an amendment pursuant to 11-413 to legalize a change of use from use group 6A, which is custom dressmaking and office, to retail store and service and office. We had this application before us when it was a different use, and there was a lot of community concern, and the tenant at that time decided to leave. So, and the applicant requested to hold back any follow-up hearing because they wanted to work with the community and get a tenant in place that would work for the community, will be responsive to the community concerns. So the applicant is proposing to rent either of the retail. So there are 3 retail spaces, 2 are vacant, and they're proposing to rent to either retail stores use group Roman numeral 6 or to an office use group Roman numeral 7, and extend the term of the variance to 2034. As Vice Chair pointed out, the applicant did seem to respond to some of the community board concerns in terms of the improvements that it's proposing. But the applicant was also very clear as to the 2 vacant spaces. They're about 288 square foot and 262 square foot. And because of this physical constraints and where they're located, these spaces would be very small for retail stores and offices, and therefore, and whatever office space or retail they would have would not generate significant foot traffic, and therefore the request. And I would agree with that. These are tiny spaces, and you have to walk down to the stairs in this basement level. Now, community board also recommended to deny access to the cellar to the air shaft. I do not know if FDNY has any say on this matter. And so I would like some clarification on this. I do think the proposed amendment to the use group will not alter the neighborhood character and would be consistent with the C findings that the prior board had met. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with everything you said. I just wanted to go into a little bit of that response that they made to the community board via documents. It showed correction in the intercom system, some lighting fixtures that were complained of. It shows a no smoking sign by the cellar level hallway adjacent to the entrance door for the art gallery, the commercial space. It also shows the there was a mention of some pest control. We also show billing and payment of pest control services, amongst some other documents that we don't need to go into at the moment.
So the art gallery is no longer there.
Art gallery is
That was
no
the
longer
that was the initial tenant, but I think they have moved out.
Yeah.
But the improvements that were made still stay, and yeah.
I have nothing further. I'm satisfied with this application.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown,
I have no additional comments.
Commissioner Yoon. Sorry, Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I believe regarding the issue with the community board, it was raised because of a complaint that made to 311, and the community board said that the gallery at the center cellar, the intercom is not working and there is no enough lighting, and the applicant response to that is we fixed the intercom. And I do believe that the gallery is still there because of a statement in the submission that the applicant says we notified the tenants of the gallery that any after-hour work / noise constitutes a breach of contract. So if a statement like this is there, that means probably that the use is there. I'm not sure if just fixing the intercom will fix the other issues, but my only comment on this is we need like a clear plan on how to address the issues that were raised, and how to move forward peacefully with like the other uses in the building. That's all what I have on this application.
So, at the initial hearing, sorry, it was actually it was postponed it was scheduled for hearing on May 20th. And at that meeting itself, the applicant had requested a postponement for the community board to hold a hearing. And then subsequently after that, the applicant did send a letter saying that the gallery is no longer there. They've, they have moved out. So now the two vacant spaces that remain, which was being used by the gallery, are the two spaces that the applicant is requesting the change of use to a retail and to retail services. I'm sorry, to use group 6 office and in retail store. So I just want to be clear on that. And
If
yes,
this is the case, then I withdraw my comment then. I believe the concern from the community board, if I'm not mistaken, is no longer there
okay.
regarding the galleries, I mean.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I understand that the community board is concerned about the retail and services use group, but I tend to agree with you, Chair, that the size of the spaces is so small that the likelihood of them generating a lot of foot traffic, and also given the nature of the frontage of these stores, potential stores, is so hidden in a way, having visited the site. It seems that it would not generate a lot of foot traffic, but the art gallery did on occasion. So I think that if we go forward, we should condition that the commercial leases need to include clauses that include no gathering of groups larger than the permitted occupancy by CMO or per code, no occupancy in the court between the spaces, no idling in the areaway, just to further reinforce the safeguards that the community board had raised and some of the residents had raised in the past.
No gathering in the stairwell.
I mean, it's so tiny down
Yeah.
there, but yeah, certainly we should not permit any gathering in any of the egress or,
Right.
it's quite a narrow,
Yeah,
difficult space to access, but, it's possible that a small store would have a party to,
288 square foot space party.
well, the art gallery had openings. So, I mean, when I was young, I would go to those things, they just, we should just condition the commercial leases so it's very clear.
Yeah.
That, they can't exceed the posted occupancy for the space. And that would be governed by the building code.
Okay, good suggestions. Thank you. Let's go to the next, please.
Item number 18, 29999 BZ Volume 4, 8-16 Malcolm X Boulevard, Queens, Brooklyn.
Okay, we received proof of initial filing and, this is an extension of time.
Yeah.
So we don't need an.
No notice.
No notice and, okay.
No community vote.
So this is an extension of time application to obtain a certificate of occupancy of a previously approved variance permitting the operation of a gasoline station, automotive service station, automotive rental, and accessory convenience store. I think pretty much everybody on this board knows this site and is familiar with the issue. And the reason the applicant needs the additional time is it needs the additional time as the fence and the bollard work requires a filing of new application at DOB because the alt one that was filed at DOB did not include the completion of any of this work, which was required as part of the board condition. So regarding the needing additional time for fence and bollard, I went back and looked at the old photographs from this application. Both is June of 2023 and July 2023 submission, the photos that were provided, there is a solid white opaque fence located along the rear lot line. So I would like the applicant to clarify the location of the fence that the applicant is referring to that requires an alt one. The applicant also needs to clarify the location of the bollards the applicant is referring to and the curb cut that was required to be reduced. So it's the statement, it doesn't direct us to anything. And I'm looking at the plan and then looking at what was, because we made the applicant improve the sites to some standard. So I'm a little surprised that there are still things that are awaiting for improvements, and that requires alt one. So I want the applicant to identify the improvements that need to be completed and the improvements that have been done, indicate which of these improvements would require DOB permit based on the photos provided, the recent photos, sets of photos provided, which I believe is much older than what actually we have from the prior grant. The site is in need of much improvement. Applicant needs to remove graffiti, provide photos of the required signs, that 4 signs stating U-Haul truck parking only has to be was required, which was not been provided, and no parking on the sidewalk signs also were required, have not been provided. And I also want to know if the no parking lettering was removed from the sidewalk. Photos show that more than maximum permitted 4 U-Haul vehicles are parked on the site. And to ensure that these 4 U-Haul vehicles are parked, only up to 4 vehicles are parked, I want the applicant to provide additional bollards. Since they're going to go for an alt one, go for these additional bollards if that's what it's required. Along the curb by the first story, by the one-story building, and as the striping seems to be not working. Also, the area next to the handicap parking space, it seems to be, it's used for parking. It's not clear if it's striped. And if it is not, please stripe it. These improvements, as I've laid out, I do not believe require any filing at DOB, and they need to be done before the vote can vote on this extension. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing more from me.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I agree with you, Chair, that the applicant should maintain the conditions on the site and not let them deteriorate in this time. And I'm okay with granting them an extension of time.
Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing further from me.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I had similar comments to yours. I won't go through them in detail, but additional photos. I will note that the curb cut reduction, it's not clearly shown on the plans that were submitted, but DOB now does show that a letter of completion has been issued. So please clarify.
Okay.
Nothing further.
Oh, DOT's.
DOB now shows a job proposing to reduce the width of the existing curb cut. And then it shows that an LOC has been issued on that job on DOB now. So I would think that it's done already, but it's not shown on the plans, and some photos would be helpful to see.
Okay. Thank you. Next, please.
Appeals calendar, continued hearing items 2024-12A and 2024-13A, 13752 and 13756 Bennett Street, Queens.
Okay. Committee board in its May hearing voted to approve this application. So we have the committee board vote in response to comments that were made at the initial hearing. The applicant has made its submission regarding the proof of foundation built prior to rezoning. Following documents were provided. That includes invoice of soil testing, invoice of concrete that were purchased on October 25, 2008, aerial maps from 2009 and 2010, affidavit of service from the site safety officer who was present during the foundation completion. I think in the past board has accepted these, so I want to hear from the commissioners. With regards to the financing, the applicant states that 88,000 has been spent on the construction of the proposed, I believe towards the foundation. Based on the submission made, the expenses were incurred towards the site prep, construction of the foundation prior to rezoning. Zoning compliance analysis of the development pursuant to R32 versus R2 also has been provided. And in that, it shows that the R32 permits a semi-detached two-family homes, whereas an R2 permits a one-family detached home. So the cost analysis that is provided for the site, if built pursuant to the to existing R2 district, has also been provided, which I believe was asked of the applicant. So I think based on all the submission and the revision that's been made, I believe it meets the three prongs of Putnam Armonk. But I want to hear from the other commissioners. Vice Chair Shibata.
I'm satisfied with this application.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
Yes, I think they responded to all of my questions concerning limiting the costs claimed to what they actually have backup for, which they did in terms of substantial expenditures. And they did give us the total expected construction costs so that we could actually create a percentage, which is probably somewhere around 8-9% of the total construction cost, which is fair in this case. They beefed up their serious loss finding by giving us an analysis of the cost to construct, as well as the proposed sales price, and showing that there would be a profit in the R3-2, but a loss in the R2. So I'm absolutely fine with what they've submitted, and I'm ready to vote.
Great. Commissioner Shetta, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm looking at the two aerial photos that they submitted. I do believe based on these two photos, and they're like assuming that they are like integral, I do believe that the foundation walls were and the foundation entirely were there. And I don't have any further comments with this application. If they can just give us the source for the two aerial photos, that would be helpful. Like I have one of the websites that I go to and look at the dates, the years, and the aerial photos at these different years. I'm not sure about the source for their provided aerial images. So if they can just educate us about that, the source, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I didn't attend the initial hearing, but I watched the video and I reviewed all the submissions and I'm satisfied.
Okay. Thank you.
Item number 20, 2024-14A, 23 Zarelli Court, Staten Island.
Okay. So in response to the comments that were made at the initial hearing on August 12th, applicant has made its submission. Easement has been provided for access through the private road to the subject site. I do think the block and lot number in the statement of fact is incorrect. It's the block and lot number is 7206 lot 508. The statement of fact has it incorrectly. Regarding access easement that would be provided, it would be through a 34 wide access easement with the turnaround at the end. I just need the FDNY response on that. I don't think we have gotten any FDNY response. And the statement of fact has been revised and an EAS also has been provided. So Ms. Benke, do you have any update on the EAS status?
Yes, we did receive the EAS and we just issued a seeker number, so we'll have to review and determine what interagency reviews are required. I think it's WRP at a minimum because it is in the WRP area.
Okay, so you do need a WRP review.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Chair Shibata.
Nothing further from me.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no additional comments.
Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. The only thing I would say is they should use the standard language when it comes to DEC and flood notes. That's the only thing I noticed. They are using like probably their own language. Well, we do have a standard language and we don't want to like change this from an application to an application. So if they can just the project manager can send them the standard language, they can copy and paste. That's all. Thank
Do
you.
you have, thank you. Commissioner, do you have any additional questions, Commissioner Sheta?
I didn't hear the last part. For some reason that Zoom got frozen for like probably
Oh.
10 seconds.
I just said, the standard language that you're referring to, if you can just share that with me and the project manager?
I don't have them in my library, but I do believe that our project managers have them. We have a standard
Okay.
language for flood and one for DEC.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I was also not present at this one when it was initially heard, but I did review this video and submissions and I have no comments other than waiting for the FDNY comments.
No, we haven't.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay,
And-
that concludes the review session for October 21st, 2024.
So we're, yeah, 15 minutes. So, yeah, make it 11.
It's 11:06, so ladies and gentlemen, we're returning at what? 11:20 for the public hearing.
10 minutes.
All right, Ms. Matias, we are back live. We are streaming on YouTube. You may proceed with the public hearing.
We can't hear you.
Microphone's off. Thank you. Sorry. Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for October 21st, 2024. Just note for the record, Commissioner Otley Brown and Commissioner Shedder are joining us remotely. The first item up is a special order calendar continued hearing, item number 15, 16008 BZ, volume 2, 671 Fountain Avenue, Brooklyn. Mr. Dale. And Ms. Krieger. Is there anyone else joining you besides Ms. Krieger?
No, just the two of us today.
Okay, I'm waiting for Vivian to get in. Okay, raise your right hands. Do you affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony for this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do affirm.
Okay, please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Hi, good morning, Todd Dale for the applicant. And as you noted, I'm joined by Vivian Krieger, who's counsel for the proposed the proposed owner. I just want to say, did listen to review session and heard the questions that were raised by the board. We'll hopefully be able to address some of it today and then in any follow-up submission that's required. I would just state initially, and then I'll defer to Vivian, since the prior hearing and as described in some of the submission items, there is now a pending contract for a change in the owner of the site. And that is why the plans reflect the changes they do. At the prior hearing, there was discussion about retaining the bus parking for the commercial vehicle storage at the site. But as noted, there was this transaction that occurred during the pendency of the hearing, and that's what the plans reflect. I will defer to Vivian, who can talk a little bit more about Jadian, the proposed owner, but I just wanted to clarify that that's why there was the change in the information that was provided. We do believe that we did address some of the consistent items on the plans, and we're happy to either add clarity to that. We can also provide follow-up items, but I will defer to Vivian to speak a little bit about Jadian, the owner of the site. And I also have some information that I can screen share that may be helpful to give the board a little bit of a understanding about Jadian.
Just, Mr. Dale, can I ask one
Sure.
question?
Yes.
Is there owner authorization for Mr. Jadian, since he is now presumed to be the owner of this contract has gone through?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. That cut off.
If has the contract gone through, is he now oh, no, okay.
No,
The
It's-
proposed owner
pending. Yes.
of the property, not the operator, the proposed owner.
I'm sorry. Let me check my speaker. I'm hearing
Sorry.
it's
Mr.
cutting
Dale,
off a little bit.
we're just wondering if new owner's authorization is required to be filed for this application to continue.
I can address that.
Sorry.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Vivian Krieger of Posen O'Connor. I'm representing Jadian iOS. Jadian is currently in contract to purchase the site, which will be subject to getting this approval. A little bit of information about Jadian. They acquire, develop, lease, and manage industrial outdoor storage sites. That's the iOS of Jadian iOS throughout the major markets throughout the US. iOS sites help alleviate the burden and congestion of on-street parking by providing the off-street parking for these trucks. They are well funded by JDN Capital. They currently control approximately 50 properties throughout the country with an additional 20 under contract. This would be their first site in New York City, so you can imagine they are eager to be able to move this forward. Because they are in contract and they do not yet own the site, they do not have a tenant, but they are looking to the nearby industrial park and other local businesses that currently overload the streets with truck parking. The idea here would be to help alleviate some of that on-street parking by providing off-street parking for the trucks. Todd, if you don't mind pulling up, I pulled a couple of screenshots from their website just so you can see. I'll go through it very quickly. There's only 3 shots. This is a little bit about them, which I just walked through. So if you go to the next one. This is a map showing their portfolio. And then the last one is an example of a site in Las Vegas, where you can see they take excellent care of the site. It's not striped because it's not what they do there, but it is paved. It has the Trex fencing here, and it does have a small building for minor repairs. Regarding the proposed Trex fencing, that is the standard fencing that they use for these sites, and they have not. I did confirm between the review session and now that they've not had issues with trucks hitting these fences or any problems with the fences and the trucks. The idea of adding the concrete bollards is really just to add an additional level of security here for the fence with the residential directly behind the site. The Trex fencing is also anti-graffiti in that it's easy to clean. If JDN were to be able to close on this deal and move forward with the site, immediately upon getting control of the site, they would make all of the improvements necessary to comply with the board's requirements. They would stripe the spaces, they would put in the fencing, they would add the required signage with hours of operation and other information as required by the board. It's the existing building that would be renovated. It would not be a new building. It would be renovated to allow for minor repairs, for an employee lounge and a new bathroom. The site would be monitored 24/7 by a security company, via security cameras, and anything else that the board would deem necessary. They would anticipate being able to get a CFO within 12 to 18 months of the approval, and happy to answer any questions and provide any additional information.
Yeah, before Commissioner Oakley Brown has a question, I see her hand raised. I have 2 basic questions from the photos that you have shown of the current operation. First of all, they all seem to be located in a very solidly manufacturing area, none like our site, which is abutted by on one frontage by manufacturing uses, and the rest of the frontage has a growing residential use. So that is very distinctive feature from what you have shown. And I am therefore very skeptical of the proposal of the use of the Trex for the sites that you have used as an example, and how that would be viable at the subject site, given its immediate proximity to residential use. That is one question. And the other is, I have to say, I'm a pretty short person on this board. So when I saw the 4-foot-high bollard, every tractor trailer I happened to see this weekend, I tried to stand in front of it and see where that 4-foot-high would be in relation to. And I was like, my God, they could just run over me very easily without any issues. So I'm not convinced about the bollards being used, and that really completely goes against the whole purpose of having a Trex. And this is not a manufacturing against manufacturing. This is manufacturing against residential in a zoning district that is zoned for residential use. So please keep that in, bear that in mind if you're going to proceed with purchasing this site, that the solutions that has worked in solidly manufacturing areas is not going to work in this area.
Thank you for that, Madam Chair, and happy to find examples from my client of areas that are in closer proximity to a residential neighborhood. And in terms of the bollards, I will get more information on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
Actually, my question exactly was what the chair asked, which was basically how many sites does JDN own that are adjacent to residential, and how has that impacted their design of the site and the operation of the site? So I would like more information about that. And also, it's my understanding that the existing building on the site is basically corrugated metal. How are you going to retain that and yet modernize it?
So I think Mr. Dale can speak to the existing building, but I do know that representatives from JDN have gone out to the site, including their construction team, and they believe that the existing foundation and structure of the building can be renovated.
Yeah, I would just follow up on that there is the exterior was corrugated metal, but that would be proposed to be changed. That there is an existing foundation for the building that would be used as the site for the new building. And as Vivian noted, JDN reps went out to the site and saw that, and that's why the building's being presented as a alteration of that existing structure. But all of the other trailers and structures are shown as removed and being moved from the site. It would just be the single building in the same foundation and footprint of that one existing building.
And then I have one more question for Ms. Krieger, which is how does JDN propose to contain the diesel emissions from the trucks to protect against the residential neighbors?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up at the review session and for bringing it up now. I'm sorry I didn't address that in my comments. I have reached out to JDN to get more information and would be able to provide that within the next day or two.
Can you give us more idea? I mean, I definitely need to understand, should this be considered at all, to get an understanding of how the business operates here? Like, what's the day in, day out kind of activity, daily activity? What is happening in this repair shop? I really am extremely doubtful of a repair shop that would be only using hand tool for these tractor trailers. And you know, you can just sense of the skepticism that we all have. So I think we need to know more, need to understand this project much more, should this even be considered. And I just want to be very clear up front, given the amount of trouble we have had with this site, I'm going to be very clear. If at all you're able to convince the board to consider 48 tractor trailers at this site, I would not allow, our conditions would be that no business operation shall start on this site at all. No permits of any sort shall be granted for any business operation on this site until the entire site has been improved as per BSA approvals. So if it takes 24 months for this business to set its shop together in a proper standard as per the thing, so be it. There won't be any business for that period of time. So I want to be very clear. So do not assume that this site is just going to be, or we can be even more onerous and require all those improvements to happen before even we grant the approval. So it's either or, but either way, a business cannot start until these improvements have been made.
Understood. And that works for my client because that is their business model. They're not related to the existing owner. I understand that there is a long history here. They're a Washington, D.C. based company. This is, as I mentioned earlier, this is their first foray into a site in New York City. So I think that they're very eager to comply with all rules and regulations and to use this as a stepping stone to have more sites in New York City. So I feel confident that my client would comply with all requirements here.
And you're saying they have never done any businesses in New York? This is the first place?
This is their first site in New York City.
Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to clarify something about the fences, the comparison between the tricks versus the masonry. I don't look at it based on competition between the durability of the tricks and the durability of the masonry fence. If from engineering perspective, if someone asks me which one is more durable, definitely one word, it is the brick. So brick wins on the durability side. Concrete is more durable. Concrete, which is very similar to brick, cement-based, is much more durable than steel. This is one of the very well-known things in the civil engineering world. So definitely brick is more durable than bricks. Appearance-wise and neighborhood character-wise, I would, if this is my neighborhood, I would like to walk looking at a fence that's brick-based, not a tricks, flash, plastic, polymer, whatever based. From the impact perspective, if and this is a big if we're gonna allow the 18-wheeler trucks, and I don't see like a good reason so far why we gonna do that. I do believe that we need to ask for a specific impact analysis to see what is the specification of the bollard and how many bollards are needed per one truck or per one storage space to make sure that the fence is not going to be hit. And when I say the fence, for now, I'm talking about a brick fence, not a tricks fence. I just wanted to make these 2 points clear, and that's what I have for now. Thank you.
I'm going to point to a case that the board had approved, I would say about 3 years ago. This was BSA case number 122-95, 152-65 Rockefeller Boulevard, which was a site located adjacent to a residential district. And in that case, the board had directed the property owner to build a 20-foot high acoustical wall, of which 15-foot was made out of tough barrier, sound barrier wall, plus a 5-foot high acrylic barrier mounted along the lot line fronting the residential use. So it has been done, and the board had asked for it. So I would strongly ask you and your team to look at that and consider that for this site, for those 3 frontages. This would meet the noise attenuation. It would address the visual. And in that case, for the visual, I think it was kudos to Commissioner Otley Brown, who had suggested provide like a vine-like mesh in front of the wall that would be facing the residential, so that it would actually be nicely covered in greenery. And that has also worked in this case. So it can be done if the intention is well meant, and the intention is to work with the community and work for the betterment of the community. There are solutions out there that can work, and I would strongly suggest that you look at that solution.
Absolutely. Thank you
Chair,
very much.
if I could just confirm, that was 122-95-BZ, 152-65 Rockaway Boulevard?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that, Madam Chair. We will look at that case and take that in consideration. That's very helpful. I appreciate it.
Given the concerns the board has, we need a very detailed operational plan. not only what happens in your other 52 sites in the country, but specifically the sites, as Commissioner Otley Brown said, the sites that are close to, I don't know how many of them are operating in such dense environment as the proposed site is. So anything that is similar to that would be helpful, but anything addition that would be needed for this specific site, please do call that out also.
Absolutely.
And the operational plan very clearly, not only for in and out of the trucks, what's happening in the shed, and I hope it won't be a shed, it would be a solid structure.
It will be.
And what is the material? All of those we need to understand. And Commissioner Otley Brown raised a very good point with regards to diesel and how that is going to be addressed on this side. So we need a very detailed tech memo on this, and that needs to be provided. And I don't know whose responsibility it is. If it is Mr. Dale's owner, client or your client, but these are all the things you need to flesh it out before you sign those papers, and these are the requirements.
Yeah, we will work together to be able to provide this information. And whatever we agree to, my client will be the one to do it. It's not something that will be passed on to a tenant.
And this is for my tech team, for my environmental team. When a tech memo is provided, I do want to make sure DOT would be okay with the turning of these vehicles and how that would be of an impact or not to vehicle movements along Fountain Avenue.
Okay.
I could just ask a question quickly with respect to the tech memo. I know that you spoke about DOT turning radius, and there was a question about diesel. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear if there were any specific items beyond that to focus on with respect to the tech memo, but it seems as if the diesel and the traffic and turning radius were the concerns that were raised. Just want to make sure.
Noise, air quality, mobile, stationary, neighborhood character, those would be the elements that would have to be addressed. Am I missing anything, commissioners?
I don't think so.
Urban design, neighborhood character, transportation, air quality, noise,
Impact design with the bollards, regardless of the type of the fence. Impact analysis and design for the bollards, the proposed bollards.
Yeah, that may not be.
Regardless of the type of the fence.
No, we did. I'm not sure if that's a tech memo item, but that was heard and acknowledged.
Oh, I thought you're listing the elements. I didn't think that you were. Yeah, I didn't realize that you're talking about the tech memo. Sorry.
No.
Quality.
Oh, you're cutting in and out, but probably hazardous materials as well.
All right, yes, material, yes, hazardous material. Because I think when you remove the shed, there would be some, and I don't know what's there on that side. It looks very messy, so. Air quality, noise, traffic, neighborhood character, hazardous material. Carlo? Yes.
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Dale, if I recall correctly, this went through a pretty extensive environmental review for the original variance application. So again, I don't know if any of those assumptions, still apply, but I don't, if you don't have a copy, perhaps you could order the case file.
Noted. Thank you.
Yeah, so go through all the findings that were made and ensure how the proposed change will not impact or alter the findings of the environmental review. Good point. Okay, any other questions or comments? And I would say, I don't know to what extent the community board has been informed of this. So whatever goes ahead, the community board should be informed, and I want a vote from community board based on what they hear.
I can just speak to that briefly and just say that we have supplied copies of the materials from all submissions to the community board. I've called the community board after each submission to confirm and say if they had any questions to reach out. I would also remind the board that we did targeted mailings on multiple occasions to the residences that were nearby. And I can say for the record, for this point, we have not received any follow-up requests from the community board or any concerns that were raised by the community board. And we haven't received any responses or concerns raised by the neighbors. Just to reiterate, the community board did issue a prior recommendation. I realize that was a different plan, but they did recommend a conditional recommendation of approval. And the community board's primary concerns were they just wanted to make sure lighting was directed into the site, that there was no overnight operation, and that there would be a security and system in place to ensure that the site was safe. Those were the three concerns they raised. And the new proposal does meet with those. But that said, any submission, I will assure you, we will get it sent out to the community board again, and we will call them again and offer to answer any questions that they might have. But consistently, the community board has recognized the history of the site, recommended approval. Their main concern is they just wanted to see an investment into the site to repair the condition of the site, which is what this would do. And I expect that approval to be consistent when we notify them again.
What's the time frame of this? Like, what are the next steps from your business operation and your contracts and agreements? Trying to get an understanding.
The contract is going to depend on being able to obtain an approval from the board. So I think that Todd and I, or Mr. Dale and I, can speak offline as to being able to work together to efficiently address the concerns that the board has raised today, so that we can submit as soon as possible, but as thoughtfully as possible.
The reason I'm asking this question is, if there is going to be a very specific owner with a specific purpose, we need to be absolutely clear in terms of how we are going to package this site and ensure an operation of the site that is consistent with what that business operation is proposing to do. If the site is not, it's in contract but not going through, and it fails through, then what happens? And I don't want this site to again be in a situation where it's waiting for someone else to come in. So, and I don't want to waste everybody's time going through multiple iteration of review.
I understood. And, the whole goal of this is, during the history of this application, the board has fairly expressed concerns about the condition of the site based on a prior tenant, a tenant that eviction proceedings needed to occur because they were difficult and caused issues both for the current owner and the community. I would just say that, we heard that, and that's why we're hopeful that this can move forward. Jadian is a very experienced owner of sites like this, and the goal was to find someone who would be very familiar with what it takes to make a site like this operate. So I understand what you said, Chair, and we're hopeful of getting this finalized with the operation, and we'll address the concerns on next submission.
Can I ask a question to Ms. Krieger about the typical operation of these sites? So I get that the general premise is that this is to relieve the on-street parking burden of all of these sort of larger trucks, but is the tenant typically a single vendor that has many trucks, or is it a tenant who tends to rent the spaces out to multiple different people who need parking spaces? How does this typically work and how do they envision this working here?
And it does work in with both of those different examples. They have sites where they have multiple tenants. Those tend to be much larger sites. They also have single tenant sites. This would be in all likelihood, a single tenant site, which is why they think that ideally working with the industrial park would be their best option. But this isn't. It's a big site for New York City, but it's not a big site for an iOS site. So they would look to a single tenant here.
Okay, so that means that this wouldn't be used like a parking lot, like a commercial retail parking lot where someone comes in and out,
Correct.
needs spaces. It would not operate like that.
Correct.
And following up on that question, so who will be responsible for making all these improvements to the site?
If the contract goes through, then it would be JDN. They would not pass this on to a tenant. They would, as soon as they would get control over the site, they would make these improvements.
And they will monitor it, making sure the tenants are complying, and how do they ensure that compliance is being made?
That would be part of their agreement with the tenant, and they also have their own security, which is 24/7 via cameras.
So council was going through Geos's portfolio and came across one. In Georgia, Lithonia, Georgia, that is the only one that seems to be near, I wouldn't even say abut or adjacent, near a residential development. And the residential development is buffered by at least, I would say, more than 30 foot of greenery. I mean, since that cannot be
It's
done
about
here,
200.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh.
say, it's much further.
It's 200 feet of greenery.
200 foot of greenery, so that's quite not adjacent. So I think this is a very, very unique site, and I'm eager, curious to see a site very similar to what we have here.
I think also, I was looking at the portfolio too during the hearing, and there is another site in Phoenix that is basically shares a corner with a residential, what appears to be residential. But I think regardless, we've made our concerns on this specific site very clear. And so while some of those precedents may be helpful, I think that the adjacencies that we are bringing up, the proximity here and our specific concerns for New York City and this specific site should be addressed. And so any precedent is going to need to be modified or added to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the example that the chair provided with 122-95 BZ, that to me sounds like it'll be super helpful for us to take a look at that, because that might be the most closely related type of situation to what we have here.
Yeah, and I know it has been built because it did
Oh,
come
great.
forward times, so so you can check that out and let us know.
Absolutely.
Okay. If there aren't any questions or comments, let's go to the public.
Onto that screen or no? The case we are currently discussing is 16008 BZ Vine 2, 651, 671 Fountain Avenue, Brooklyn. Should you wish to comment, dial 669-254-5252. And at the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 161-692-7748 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, it's the little Zoom hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
While we are waiting for public to call in, one thing I have to say in the statement of fact, it was stated that by providing such parking space on site, it will alleviate the tractor trailers parked on the street in the area. I would say in the transportation analysis, one shouldn't take credit for that, because the impact that is being caused by on-street vehicles and park, that is a requirement of each one of those manufacturing businesses that are operating there, and they should be performing, so it is their responsibility to ensure all their parking spaces, parking needs is accommodated on site. So any spillover that's happening on the street and that is going to be contained on this site, in your traffic analysis, please do not take credit for that. Assume the worst case.
Noted. We wouldn't do that.
Okay. So for the next hearing, we need a very detailed operational plan, much more detailed plan, site plan with all the questions and comments that were raised, a statement of facts that goes through all the findings, tech memo. And did I say operational plan? Yeah, an operational plan.
Okay, timer's out. No one is called in. No one's raised their hand.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dale. Thank you, Ms. Krieger. Please, we do want this site to improve, and we hope with Geos, maybe it can be a better solution, but we do have concerns.
No,
I think you will need some time to do this. I don't want to set out a time period. Maybe you can work with the project manager and identify a time that that you want this to be scheduled for. I'm thinking more like a January.
we will, Ms. Krieger and I will speak after this offline and coordinate, and then we will get back to the project manager quickly with a suggested time frame that'll hopefully work for us and the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
Yeah.
Chair and Commissioners.
New cases, item number, yeah,
Yes,
new
please.
cases, item number 16, 450 46 BZ, 41 East 62nd Street, Manhattan. This is Shelley Freeman. I
Is he?
don't think so. I don't think Don Lamato is, but let's see. Good morning, Mr. Freeman. Is there anyone else for joining you?
My colleague Elena Aristova is in the room. If you could admit her, please.
Elena. We don't see her in the room.
Oh. My mistake then. I think she's just listening in on the Zoom.
So let me raise the.
Then it's just me.
Okey doke. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Shelley Friedman, Friedman and Gottbaum, counsel to the applicant. We did listen into the executive session, and with apologies to Commissioner Seta, we did include the 10-year reference in the last sentence of our conclusion of our statement of facts. So it is in the record. Apologies for sneaking it in there at the last minute. With regard to Commissioner Yoon's question, as you might imagine, in a 78-year-old variance, there's a little history here. So let me focus in on the question. But first, let me say that since its approval in 1946, the commercial use has been corporate owner occupied, single corporate owner occupied throughout, and will continue to be in the future. To her question regarding the 1994 extension, the real purpose of that language was to remove the name of the original applicant, which had made it into the resolution, the estate of the Gary brothers, from the resolution, so that it could continue to be used by subsequent owners. At that time, the entire structure was the 5,900 or so square feet that was the subject of the use variance. And in 2014, that was, I'm sorry, in 1994, that was extended. In 2005, the current applicant purchased the property. The property was already under development because it was underbuilt, and as of right use was being added to it. That application was abandoned. And when my client bought it, it was already, the building was already partially completed. The applicant completed the building with its own community facility philanthropic uses. And so from 2005, the variance has really been about a mixed use building, partially commercial, not going beyond that originally provided in the 1946 variance, plus the community facility space, approximately 5,000 square feet, added in 2005. So going forward, I would only want to make sure the language is, however the board wishes to memorialize this, that the language accurately reflects that the building is currently a mixed-use building, not a single-use building, but that with regard to the corporate portion of the site, which is the subject of the variance, that is in single use as a commercial use and will remain so. I hope that's responsive to the question.
So there can be two occupants, but the as of right occupant is the community facility. For the commercial, it will be a single occupant.
Well, in practicality, the building is so small, it will remain a single user, a single owner. But the variance itself extends only to the commercial portion. So that's why I worded it the way I did. If we wanted to increase the commercial occupancy, we would obviously have to come back to the board to go beyond the 5,900 square feet originally approved in 1946.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification, and I apologize if I made it sound like it was intended for just a single user across the whole building. I just meant the commercial, as that's clearly stated in the 1994 resolution.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that in 1994, it was crystal clear. I'm afraid over the passage of time, it's become less so. Madam Chair, that would complete my statement unless there are other questions from the board.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Mr. Friedman? Let's go to the public then.
The case that we're currently discussing is 450-46 PZ 41 East 62nd Street, Manhattan. Should you wish to discuss, dial 669-254, excuse me, 5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 161-692-7748 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hands at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss. I don't know why that stopped. I have to find a different, clock is stopped, known as raise the hands or called in.
Okay.
That's better. Why it changed, weird.
Okay, nobody called in and since the board if the board is satisfied with the responses, I would then make a motion to close this application.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
We will schedule this for November 18th.
Thank you very
Just-
much.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you all. Thank you very much.
Item number 17, 1693 BZ, Volume 3, 110 Christopher Street, Manhattan. It's called Safara.
Oh, there are two of them. I don't know which one.
There's three of them. Oh,
Oh.
there's two of them now. Oh, the other one left off.
I'm letting both of them in.
There we go. Sorry.
What's going on?
No, I must have changed it or something. I don't know what happened.
Is
Weird.
Mr.
Safara,
Is he
please
in?
join as panelists. Okay.
Yes, he's there.
Can you unmute and fix your screen a little bit, Mr. Safara? Okay, cameras.
Can you see me now?
You're echoing.
Please turn the YouTube off.
Okay, I'm trying on the phone. Can you see me now and hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Is there anyone else with you, Mr. Safaro?
Just me.
You? Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
I'm Carl Safaro. I'm the attorney for the landlord and the applicant. And I attended the executive session and let me respond as follows. Almost all of the issues and concerns that were raised by the community board, that's Community Board 2 Manhattan, relate to the art gallery. It's use group 6, a former use group 6C, I should say, a former tenant of the two center spaces that we're speaking about. Those spaces were formerly occupied by a custom dressmaker, also use group 6 under the old zoning, who vacated the space. And we found that the woman who operated the art gallery was simply not a considerate neighbor and generated 311 complaints when she hosted a viewing after hours where guests were drinking, smoking, wandering about, etc., and causing a nuisance. This is what generated the complaints that you see in the record. This brought about many tenant complaints at the community board hearing, many relating to building issues such as an inoperable or partially operable intercom, pest control management, exterior lighting in the space giving access to the stores, and all of this having to do with, I believe that was generated by the nuisance that was caused by having this gathering. It was that late at night, and it was a very inconsiderate thing to do, something that the landlord did not agree with. Subsequent to which, we corrected each and every one of those conditions and documented that to the board as well as to the community board. Simultaneously, the landlord then began to pressure the tenant that if she couldn't comply with the lease and be a good neighbor, that we would pursue her eviction, whereupon she decided to surrender the lease. That was done a couple of months ago, and the space has been vacant since that time. The landlord would prefer to be able to have a C of O before trying to rent to someone else. And as you were considering, given the limited size and location of these spaces, as well as the overall soft real estate market for commercial uses, especially in this area, it's very difficult to obtain any tenant. But we'd still like to have the possibility to have offices and or retail spaces. We think that the size of the two spaces in issue would necessarily not generate a lot of foot traffic and not cause concerns or undue burden on the tenants in the building. It was mentioned that restrictive clauses and future leases be provided, and we're not opposed to that. We could include clauses that state that there should be no smoking permitted, a limitation on the number of occupants in each space at any time, not to exceed that which is specified on any new certificate of occupancy, that no social gatherings of any kind be permitted, and that there be no loud music played. The two other issues, the air shaft, I don't know, the community board said that there were people congregating in the air shaft. I don't think that's even possible. If you look in the drawing, the air shaft is the court space, it's labeled as a court between the two center office spaces. And it's accessible by windows. You open the window, I think it's the only way to get ventilation into the office space, and I think it's required by building code, especially to ventilate the spaces, including the restrooms, which are part of the office spaces. Other than that, there are no operable windows, no openable windows, that is, in this space. So the air shaft is necessary for ventilation. As to people wandering around into other spaces in the cellar, the operators of these spaces, future tenants, can see to it that patrons and occupants do not wander into other spaces. And once they're finished their business, that they can exit immediately to the street, and you can observe that if you're in the spaces. So I think that's controllable. Locking doors will probably impede egress, perhaps even required egress, and it would, I think, would even prevent tenants from having access to the tenant storage spaces. So I don't think that locking doors here or there throughout the cellar is necessary nor desirable under these conditions. If you have any further questions, I'd be glad to respond.
You. Those were helpful. Yeah, I think that this is a very tight space, and we need to be careful in terms of which doorways and entryways are blocked because this could be all related to fire egress and access. So I understand what you're saying.
Can also note that in the years that we did have tenancy with the dressmaker, the office, and so on, we've never had this problem. Okay. And very little foot traffic. People who are in the spaces see the patrons come in and they see them exit. You don't see, it's very easy to determine that. And I'm not aware of any instances where, other than this gathering by the art gallery tenant, where she had people wandering around, and I guess because of the small space, she invited too many people, and it was just improper, totally improper, and that's what led to her being evicted, actually. And but to my knowledge, in the year I did the last extension of term as well, I've never had an issue with people wandering through the building or accessing the elevator and going into the residential spaces at all.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Salfaro? Let's then go to the public.
The case that we're currently discussing is 1693 BZ, Volume 3, 110 Christopher Street, Manhattan. Should you wish to discuss, please dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter Weber ID number 161-692-7748 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand and wish to participate. Once you're recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss. I see a person's hand up, Eugene Yu.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put the other timer on. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Go ahead.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Eugene Yu. I am Chair of the Land Use Committee from Community Board 2 Manhattan. I just wanted to reiterate our resolution on this matter. Specifically, we wanted to say that in the resolution, we continue to have no objection to the continuation of the office use within use group 7, now to use group 7 under the new zoning. Our previous objection is that we were recommending denial of the change to include the more impactful use group 6, retail and services under the new zoning. The reasons being that the community board did hear from a number of tenants that were concerned about the increased noise and the impacts of that. The specifics that were given by Mr. Salfaro were, of course, from the art gallery, and the art gallery in the previous application was for use group 6C under the old zoning. Sorry about the old and new zoning going back and forth, but this resolution is kind of on the midst, between those two. Again, we asked the applicant if there were any reasons for them to request the expansion of the allowable uses, because previously this space has been allowed for office space only. And we asked why they needed to include the allowable uses to now include retail, retail group 6 retail services, which includes a much more larger list of uses within the new zoning as well. And the applicant was unable to reply in terms of whether they had any support from existing tenants for the new allowable uses, whether they had any changes to the space to make it amenable to a retail establishment, or indeed whether or not they had made any efforts to lease the vacant commercial space with the currently allowed uses and had, and not been unable to do so. So because of that, we reiterated our recommendation of the denial and change to the more impactful use group 6, retail and services. We had also made a recommendation about air shaft being made inaccessible from the commercial units and the doors being locked. Again, we don't need to generate a solution to this, but we're reiterating what the tenants had told us, which was that there were concerns that if there was retail use, there would be increased traffic, which would bring additional people into the building, and that there were concerns about access from the cellar to the rest of the building that should be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your response and attending our hearing. Any other speakers? Don't see anybody's hand.
No, time has gone out.
Isn't the existing music store classified as a use group 6?
It is. Yeah.
Wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just going through the current uses that are permitted under use group 6. Yes, there are use groups from, clothing, shoe repair, jewelry, luggage, sporting goods. As I'm looking at all of them and I'm trying to see how would they, or even courier, express delivery service, local messenger, service and loans, other financial. So any of these things, I think fitting anything into a 260 or 80 square foot space, it's rather
Unlikely.
unlikely. And I understand given the retail market that we are seeing of even larger spaces, trying to have that flexibility of finding a tenant who may just need that 288 square foot to sell something or to have an office is a reasonable ask, given the current market condition.
The community board
Somebody's
person
hand
is
is up.
He's back up. The community board person is up again. His hand, Mr. Yu?
No, I
No?
think we only allow once
Okay.
somebody to call in.
just-
If Mr. Yu, okay, if you want to have anything, you can send us in writing. And with regards to not allowing access ways and closing doors and shaft, those are fire related. And as Mr. Safara pointed out, some of them are required for air circulation and there could be other code related. So we are not going to recommend anything that would be contrary to underlying regulations, whether that is building code or fire code related. If it can be achieved without causing any issues related to those, it's up to the property owner to make that decision. But we are not waiving any of the regulations that would be required as part of fire department or a building code for a use to operate, or even for anybody to be using that space. We're not waiving any of those requirements. I think I understand the issues that were raised by community board chair, but as he pointed out, these issues really got highlighted because of one use, and that was the use that was permitted, which and which is no longer there. So, and I think they were using two of the spaces, and these spaces were not connected to each other. So they were going in and out from one space to the other, which was also causing a lot more movement than, let's say, if there was a single occupant who was using one space and another occupant was using the other space. So that is something that, Mr. Salfaro, you may want to recommend to your client, that if they are going to rent a space, it be to individuals who are not going to go in and out from one space to the other, because that might be adding to the foot traffic. Instead, if they want to combine it, maybe there's a better provision to allow for that. I don't know. And that can prevent a lot of the concerns the community board has, or the residents have raised.
I agree.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Okay. Next, please.
I'll just say one thing, if I may. We just like to have some flexibility. Ideally, we'll find an office tenant who can make use of this small space. It's not likely that we'll find a retail tenant, but we do need to have someone occupy the space. So we just like to have some flexibility. And that's the reason why we're asking for retail.
Yeah.
Ideally, as I said, we'd get professional office space, one or two people, and that would work very well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that might be the best tenant for you, because
Yeah. I mean, we're not looking to create nuisances. We're looking for a tenant who can survive there and live and coincide peacefully with the residential tenants as well.
Commissioners, are you comfortable closing the application? We can keep the record open if Mrs. Alfaro, can you put in writing what you have stated in terms of how you propose to have more control on the lease
Yes,
by
I'll do that.
what limitations you would be placing? What you-
Absolutely, I can do that.
It just seems to me it should be easy enough for assuming, and I think that this wouldn't impact the life safety issues, but based on the plan that the doors that swing out into the areaway from the common area, the residential portion of the basement should be exit only, and that there shouldn't be any access from the street without a key.
Right, and I don't think the tenants can, the commercial tenants, I don't think have access to that door.
Well, I have no idea what it looks like. I don't know what that door looks like. I don't know if it's keyed or not, but I'm just saying that it should be exit only. And not accessible to
Right,
the
and-
public,
and-
because it's really open to the street, really. So I assume that that should be an easy enough security measure that would keep
Which,
the.
can you share the plan
Yeah, I'll-
you're referring to?
So you have this areaway that is open to the street. There is a metal gate from what I remember, but it's not locked and it's very low. So this is the street, this is Christopher Street. So this
Right.
areaway is open
Right,
to the right of way.
right,
There are doors here that let you into the various spaces in the basement.
right.
And then there are doors here and here that serve as access from the residential cellar out to the street. And I'm saying those two doors should be easy enough to make exit only without, or lockable with key, not lockable, sorry, I shouldn't say that.
That can't be low.
Access should be provided by key only from the outside into the cellar. And that seems like an security measure to prevent people from the outside coming into the building. Not just from the retail stores, but from the right of way.
Yeah, again, this is something, it's a more of a fire department call for them to figure out, because I don't know what is the access. Do they need another means of exit from the retail space?
They wouldn't go into the building, no. They would only go out front.
Okay.
And I believe that because these are so small, I may be wrong, but they're so small, they only have one means of egress.
And that would satisfy that, you're saying?
Yeah, so these doors out here will need to be open for people in these spaces to access,
To
but
exit.
I'm talking about these doors
No.
so that there is no transmission of people from the outside into the residential secured space. Just trying to address the community board, land use committee, comments. Instead of being vague about it, these two doors that provide access should not
Should
be
only-
accessible
Right,
by anyone who doesn't have a key. They can be exit only with panic bar hardware if needed, but that's not, we're not prescribing that. I'm just saying that we are prescribing that they shouldn't be accessible from the outside in.
Even in spite of that, you would still be able to go from the areaway to the elevator. You can't put a door on the elevator.
I don't think.
I don't know how you would,
How you can go from the areaway to the elevator. The areaway only has windows from the restroom.
No,
And-
the elevator is next to the boiler room. And you can walk from there directly outside, and people outside can walk directly to the elevator.
that's why I'm saying we should have these be exit only. And you can only enter if you have a key.
Those are to the individual spaces, not to the walkway. Those
So-
doors.
I have a
are-
question. Is the elevator also used by, if somebody needs handicap accessibility and wants to access the office space in the cellar, do they then use the elevator to
They-
then access?
They could enter on the first floor level, make their way to the elevator and then come down.
I see. Okay. when you said they could, or that's a requirement, or they have to meet that requirement, the ADA requirement? That's the question. It's not the could. Is that the requirement?
I don't know that that is a requirement, handicap accessibility for this existing multiple dwelling. I don't know, but I know from walking through the building that you can get down to the basement using the elevator.
Right, and I would think if I am going to the office space in the cellar, I don't need the ADA accessibility. I will take the stairs down and then enter one of those office doors.
That's right.
Right?
That's correct.
Only a resident in the building will use the elevator to go downstairs, do whatever they want to, and then they can choose to exit from that area that Commissioner Yoon has shown.
Yes.
And can take the stairs upstairs.
They can do that.
Right.
I mean, if they
And
want to bring trash down and access to compact the room, they can do that.
right, and if they're doing that, and the building maintenance, all of them can do the same thing. And
Yes.
at that is their responsibility to make sure that the door is closed properly so that nobody from outside can open the door.
Well,
Or can therefore not access it.
I'll ask the architect to look into it. I would think that the door that leads to the janitor storage, that can be closed off. And the same with the door that leads to the boiler room, that can be closed off. Or at least operable so that persons, let's say in the tenant storage area in the back of the building, can exit through the front, maybe with a panic bar or something.
Why can't these doors that I've highlighted here be exit only?
Those are the doors, I believe, that go only into the rentable spaces. They're not doors in the hallway.
No, I think Mr. Salfaro, you need to go back to the architect and to your property owner. What Commissioner Yoon is saying is correct. I mean, you need to have a fire exit from the cellar for the rest of the building. And those are the two fire exits from the rest of the buildings. And if that's the case, why can't those be only exit doors? And then that way.
If they're as shown here on the, I'm not sure, I don't recollect. I've been to the property a number of times. I don't recollect that these doors were in the exit passageway. But I can visit with the architect and we can accomplish what you want.
I think my point is that the tenants of the residential portion of the building should be secured from the general public. If we're allowing a retail use in the cellar, retail public, members of the public should not be able to easily access the residential secured portion of the building.
I understand that.
I think that's a condition that we have to make in order to permit the public to come into the cellar of this building.
Okay, I
So-
understand that. So if
This
those
is-
exits are there as shown as on the plan, we'll make them exit only. If they're not there, they have to be installed. I just don't remember them being there.
Got it, okay.
So we're gonna get a revised. Yeah, we need a revised plan.
Okay.
With the note very specifically saying that those two doors will be exit only doors.
Mhm. All right, I'll take that up with the architect and make some recommendations and find a solution to the concern.
Do we still close?
No, we're not.
Okay. Alrighty, thank you, Mr. Zafar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we can try to schedule this for December. Do you think you will have a response by then? Otherwise, our November calendars are very full, so I'm suggesting December, otherwise it'll go into January. Do you think you
What
can?
will be the submission date?
First is the submission date for December 9th.
December 9th? That sounds reasonable. That should be fine. And then we'll have a hearing on whatever the next hearing date is.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Do you know what the next hearing date will be? You said December 9th for submission.
December.
With a submission date of November 21st.
Oh, November 21st. Submit. And December 9
Yes?
Yes.
for next hearing. That would be fine.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good day.
Good day. Item number 18, 29999 BZ, volume 8-16 Malcolm X Boulevard, Brooklyn. Ms. Fuller.
The room. Let her in.
Hi, how are you?
Good afternoon. Is there anyone with you?
No, just me.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do. Thank you so much.
State your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Elise Fullader from Eric Polanik, PC. So I first wanted to clarify a little bit of confusions. The fencing and bollards were done prior when we last went through this kind of somewhat recently. But what happened was the bollards, and I can show you the approved plans. I can share them now from the Department of Buildings. The bollards were in front of the existing curb cut. So the DOB required us to file an amendment application to lessen the curb cut so the bollards wouldn't block the curb cut. So, and that was approved in the summer. And as part of that, the bollards and the fencing weren't on there was a no work application because this originally was just an extension of term for a CO. So that had to be kind of intertwined in that alt to account for the bollards and the fencing. So it can all be reviewed by DOT. So then when they get DOB, so when they get a C of O, it's all accounted for. So an amendment was placed for the bollards and the fencing and an amendment for the curb cuts to account for everything.
Alfaro, please turn off your video.
Sorry.
Your case is no longer being heard.
Thank you.
So I can submit those DOB plans and I can share them, but it says that there's new fencing and new bollards.
Okay. All right.
So Commissioner Yoon was correct. We did get letters of completion that she saw from the DOB. I can also submit those. And now all that's left is to get a CO. All the work was approved.
Okay. What is still missing, as I pointed out, there were these parking notes that had to be put on the wall that says for you.
So I think that I got owners from the pictures from the owner that I think need more. And I can show you here, but I think that the next step is we will get you photographs showing those because I only gave you 4 or 5 pictures and they're a little blurry. So I think we need better pictures to show you those signs.
What I also did notice from those photos that it seems it's being used for 5 U-Haul parking spaces. You have managed to.
Okay. I saw 4 in the, they're not perfectly parked, but I saw 4 in the photograph. And then I have these 2. I can share this. This is even more recent. This is from August 2024, and this is on Zola. You can see there's 3 parked there.
This photo, there are these bollards. So
yeah, so they were put in when we last went through this, but it was a no work application. So when they asked you can see that there's new sidewalking there. When they asked to lessen the curb, they had to put that as part of the new alt.
Okay.
It was done in a kind of backwards order, so it's a little bit hard to explain. So we did what BSA requested, then DOB noticed the curb cut. They didn't like it, so then we had to go backtrack.
Okay.
And that set us back, and that's why we need an extension of time because we didn't get approved for the new curb cut until the summer, and we had to get a CO by July at the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Please do ask your client to improve the site because
So, yeah. And what happens too, as you can see this, but you can see that the wall was recently painted, but people keep graffitiing over and over and over again. But we can take care of that and get photos of the signage that you can't see behind the U-Hauls.
Yep.
And the parking on the other side as well.
Yep. Any questions or comments?
The case we're currently discussing is 29999BZ, Volume 4, 8-16 Malcolm X Boulevard, Brooklyn. Should you wish to comment, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 161-692-7748 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, press *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss. Almost done. Okay,
Are
clock's
we-
run out. No one has called in and no one has raised their hand.
Are we okay with closing it and have the applicant make the submissions? Yeah. And clarification?
Just to clarify, I'm just want to tell you, I'm going to submit the, what Commissioner Yoon found, the work is completed. I'll do a copy of the DOB approval, and then I'll do photographs showing all the signage and no graffiti.
Mm-hmm. And an overall site condition.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
All right, motion to close.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shibata,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye. Just want to see what's our calendar looking like in December.
You can always get back to us with whatever date works for you.
We can do December.
Okay, sounds good.
December 9th with a submission of November 21st, at least.
Okay, great. That gives me a month in case to, tell the graffitiists to go away.
Can you clean that graffiti or is that not your that's not your property, right?
The one above us isn't, that gray wall is ours.
Yeah, I would say that this area does issues with graffiti. I'm not going to.
I didn't think it was there.
If
Yeah,
you-
this area has a lot of graffiti issues, so it is important for your property owner to figure out a way to keep it clean.
No. in
Go ahead.
the property owner, if you look at the Google Calendar, you'll see that it seems that he does with some sense of regularity, remove the graffiti and something similar.
Something
becomes-
pop up, yep. yeah.
So.
Maybe the graffitiist lives next door. I don't really know.
I appreciate his continued efforts.
Yes. Thank you.
Appeals calendar, continued hearing items, item number 19, 2024, 12A and 13A, 13752 and 13756 Bennett Street, Queens.
Alexia Landesman, I let her in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Is there anyone with you?
No, just myself this afternoon.
Okay. Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to commissioners' comments. You don't have to be sworn in.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Alexia Landesman from Sheldon LaBelle PC. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We have attended the executive session and note that the board had no outstanding comments with the exception of Commissioner Shetta's question about where we got the aerial photos. And so actually the client was able to get them through Google Earth. And I found that we've in the past used historical aerials as a website to get aerial photos, but Google Earth gives cleaner photos, and I believe that they are free. So that's just a fun little tip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and I
think-
confirm, I did look at them and they are coming from Google Earth. Thank you.
And I believe with that, there was no other questions. We'd just like to thank the board for their time with this application and their thorough review. And with that, if we are able to close today and be put on the decision calendar as soon as possible, that would be ideal.
Questions or comments? Let's then go to the public.
The case we are currently discussing is 2024 12A and 13A, 13752, 13756 Bennett Street, Queens. Should you wish to discuss, dial 646-669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 161-692-7748 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
We done 2 minutes?
41 seconds.
Okay, nobody called in. I would like to make a motion to close.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Shetta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon. Okay.
And we will schedule this for decision December 9th.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2024-14A, 23 Zarelli Court, Staten Island.
Who would this be?
This would be, I guess, Matthew Simpson. Oh, it's Todd. Sorry, Todd.
That's fine. I'll be Matthew if you'd like.
Sorry, the brain escapes me for a minute there. Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to board's comments at review session. You don't have to be sworn in.
Good afternoon, Todd Dale for the applicant. I did listen to the comments at review session. It seems most of them are going to rely on waiting for responses, but I would note we will fix the block that is a typo in the statement of facts and get that resubmitted. In response to Commissioner Shetta's comment regarding the flood note is actually on the plan currently. It's in the center of the plan under BSA note, which is under, if you look at like the tax lot designation, you'll see it's the third note. There's a flood note already on the plan that Ms. Ebanks Chu actually provided to us earlier. So that's on the plan. And it seems to me the other two outstanding items are waiting on an EAS response. The EAS was submitted, and then waiting on any comments from the fire department, if any.
So this is the BSA note where,
Sure. If you know what, if it makes it easier, hang on, let me do this. I will.
more about the DEC.
I can share my screen just quickly.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It says the flood, I think the question was more about the BSA,
Standard language.
Right, this right here is the standard language, I believe, the BS.
Can you zoom to it, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you make it like, can you zoom to that specific note?
Right here?
yeah, I think it's the DEC note is what he was referring to.
Oh, is there what's the DEC?
You have it on the third bullet.
The third bullet right here?
Yeah.
Right here is subject to review and approval by DEC. It's this.
I wasn't saying that the notes, both of them is not included. What I was saying is that there is like a standard language. I recall that it starts with the approval of the subject application does not constitute blah, blah, blah. So instead of the language that's currently on that drawing, I was talking about replacing that kind of language with the standard language that we have in our library. That's what I was talking about during the hearing, during the executive session.
How's this? We're happy to put whatever notes on there, but this is the note that we had received from Ms. Ebanks Chu, and so that's what we put it on there. And that's the one that she just sent to me. So if there's a note that's not this note, I'm happy to add it. I just wanted to clarify that we did receive that direction and did put it on the plan earlier. But
and I did acknowledge that there are two notes regarding the DEC and the flood issue during the executive. But like I said, we're gonna like discuss internally and send you probably the standard language if necessary.
That's fine. So that note's on there, but we're happy to add another note as needed.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Did fire department have a chance to review the revised?
I do not know.
Do you know, Mr.
Mr.
Dale, if
Velez?
you got any?
Mr. Velez, do you wish to participate? He's from the fire.
Hi, I don't, oh, the fire department, sorry. Wrong last name. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Velez, are you wishing to participate? I'm sorry.
So,
Here, hold on.
Mr. Velez?
Yeah.
I forget his title is.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. How's it going? So the only notes that I have on the plans left to me were that anything greater with a length of 400 feet requires FD approval. So I would have to consult with the Bureau of Operations to see if they would approve.
I just say we're happy to respond to any fire department comments that may be forthcoming. I would just note that this was designed based on the regulations that have been used in the past because of the distance, that it is a 34-foot wide easement and that there is a 38-foot radius in the turnaround. But if there are any forthcoming comments, we'll gladly review them once received.
Okay. So is this more than 400 foot, Mr. Bellis?
To be honest, I haven't reviewed it. These are just notes that were left to me that are on the plans.
So if you could look into it and let and coordinate with your and let our project manager know and what as to the next steps.
Yes, we'll do.
Can you give us a time frame?
We can December, sounds good.
December for you to determine whether it's more than 400 foot, or December for Bureau of Planning to determine if it's okay?
For fire department to determine.
Okay. Okay. So we have a hearing on December 9th. Can it be, can this review be completed before that?
Yes.
All right. All right. So, Mr. Dale, if there are any additional clarification information needed, our project manager will coordinate with you and with Mr. Velez regarding fire department.
Sounds good, and we'll provide any information that's needed.
Okay, thank you. Yes, actually, if if everybody doesn't know, John Daly is no longer with fire department, and Mr. Velez, are you our new point person?
In the interim, yes.
In the interim, so Mr. Velez has kindly stepped in for the time being to from fire department regarding BSA. Thank you, Mr. Velez.
Thank you.
Let's go to the, any other questions or comments? Okay, let's go to the public.
The case that we're currently discussing is 2024-14A, 23 Zarelli Court, Staten Island. Should you wish to comment on it, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 161-692-7748 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Are we?
Almost.
Okay. All right. Because WRP is still under review, we cannot close this. So I'm going to have it scheduled for continued for December 9th. If needed, we may make it December 10th, just to allow if fire department needs an extra day to comment on it. I hope not. We will get it before December 9th, but it would be December 9th or 10th.
Understood. Thank you.
Just to clarify, we have to determine if any other reviews are needed of the EAS as well, and we will be in touch. So, but I just know offhand, WRP, yes. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for that clarification. Yeah.
Okay, there being no speakers or anyone else, this concludes the public hearing for October 21st, 2024.
Thank you all. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you.